Guys, man, this is Damo Unleash from the Harsh Realities Podcast. Man, thank you guys for tuning in today. As you come across this video, please hit the like button. Please hit the follow button. It only helps this channel to grow. The name of the topic today is basically put, or simply put, our culture lacks leadership. Now, I don't know if you guys had are following Lil Yachty's podcast, but he has Sexy Red on there, and she made a comment, man, that was eyebrow raising to say the least. And I'm just in pure shock that there's nobody in the culture that is calling her out today, right? But I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna play this audio clip. It's from there, the Lil Yachty's podcast, and then we're gonna dive into this, sink our teeth into it. So here we go. So basically, this is who they're putting out in front of children, right? Somebody that's basically out there promoting how they don't use condoms and how it's cool to be the raw dog queen. Now, to put this in further context, for those who actually watch and more of the video, she did say that she does put on, make some dudes put on a condom. But it's just the whole of I don't wear condoms. Like that should never come out of any female's mouth, period. But especially a female that they put in front of young girls. So to kind of break this down, when you're young, you're 23. What do you think of when you hear a female say something like that? Especially considering where we're at as far as like dating and relationships.
In my opinion, I think that it is it's a terrible role model for young women my age and lower, uh, that they feel like they should be doing hot girl summer or the 3 or 4 culture. I think that they should not be having sex without protection because there's a risk of pregnancy and diseases that are going around. You're literally putting your life in jeopardy, not having protection with both parties, the man and the woman. Uh, it's basically temporary pleasure, long term consequence to not have protection and putting your child in jeopardy, not having a father, basically.
Man, when I heard this kind of made me sad because it's like most of these women, when you see them, especially in the minority culture, there are not many women that I can look at and say, I want my daughter to emulate that. There's not even a lot of mothers because the majority of them are single mothers. So you don't go around and look at them and say, I want my daughter to model her. There's not many women in a culture that you really look at and you say, I want my daughter to model her. Even the women that's considered highly educated, because most of them have failing relationships, and most of them have masculine energy. And you don't see, I don't like to use power couples, but I don't see many couples that you say, you know what, you can even go and ask advice to. Rather it's a lot of day to day people. Like, me and my wife, we're married 24 years, and there weren't any couples out here, that we can, rather if they were in mainstream or not, that we could look up to and say, want to study and see how they've, walked the path they've walked for so long and how they've made it this long, how they've made it work this long. Or even everyday people. There are not a lot of everyday people that you can go and look at and say, you know what? I like what they have going on. That's what I want to model my relationship after. And you look on TV, and a lot of these young girls come from homes where they're broken homes. They don't really have that model or that example in the household. So most of the example they get of what a relationship is Hollywood, which has been failing young girls for the longest, especially Disney movies. Disney movies is a pure letdown. It gave young girls, especially young girls, a misperception of what a relationship is and the purpose of a relationship. And now, at least back in the 80s, mid 90s, you had shows like Family Matters or The Cosbys. You had shows where there were.
You also had good times where there's a mom and a dad, there's basically they're in a two-parent household, and the woman is playing her role, being the nurturer, being feminine, and then you have the man who is the provider, protector, and then like the kids are able to see that okay, mom is for the daughters in the family, they're like, okay, this is what I should emulate to be a traditional wife. And then for the guys, it's like, okay, well, this is how my dad is to my mom. This is what I should emulate. And so in Hollywood, it's concerning that when you see celebrities, especially white, Asian, Mexican, etc., you see them talk about, my wife, my husband, our kids. In the Black community, you see a lot of women who have caked on faces. They have wigs on, they have these long nails, they got tattoos, and they're talking about, I don't need a man, I could do this by myself. And then, like, when they get older, they end up alone or childless, or,
You
it's, basically like this is the reason why a lot of Mexican, white people, Asian communities, you see a lot of two-parent household because that's what they're putting out there. But the black community, we are so backwards that we've got more single parent households. We've got child care. We have women who are bigger than the man. You've got tattoos. You've got women in our community. They curse like a sailor. There's no sense of feminineness.
Well, it's crazy. You know what I find really bizarre? Trans and drag people, the community, used to try their best to their perception of what a woman is or beauty, used to try to emulate women. Now it feels like the women are trying to emulate the drag community, the trans community. Okay? So when I look at somebody like a Sexy Red is kind of looks close to a trans woman. Now, let me break that down what I mean by that, right?
Right.
The long eyelashes, the tattoos, the bright color hairstyles, the wigs and the weave. That wasn't something that you've seen a lot of in the 80s and 90s. That's what when you see even the BBLs. The BBLs, it's not nothing new. It's been around since RuPaul, right?
Right.
Now, if you look at it, now, man, you see just everyday chicks going out, going to get BBL, going to get these colorful weaves and wigs that the RuPaul era, that genre had, started out and what they were promoting.
Right.
And so a lot of the females now, it's like they're trying to look like drags. Like to me, Sexy Red is one of those examples.
They're basically like clowns in boss bodies, just walking around Atlanta, California, anywhere where there has Democrats or they're in poor neighborhoods. Basically, that's basically all you see.
And you know what's really bizarre about that? Most females think that that's what guys want. But if you look at those females, a lot of them aren't married or they don't have a marriage that you look at and say, that's the kind of marriage that I want. They're not a model like, okay, Cardi B.
Right.
Do you think her marriage is a marriage that a lot of females model what they want in a marriage? Remember, man, her husband, what was it, Offset?
It was Offset.
Yeah. So that's not a model of, what I'm saying? Like, most people don't look at them and say, I want that kind of marriage or relationship. At least not that way.
Yeah, when you see somebody like Black China, how she had all those fillers and tats and
And
stuff.
now she's going back now.
Going natural. That says a lot about
Yeah,
what's
because
really going on.
And it's because, man, all that stuff is cute now. And people think that your background or your resume, your history don't matter. But it sure does matter. You know what I mean? It's almost like,
I can say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Also, basically, like those things are for women to show off to each other. It's not for men. You clearly hear all the time what men want. They want a feminine woman who's fit, who is submissive. And when I say submissive, I mean, the guy is paying all the bills. He's bringing in the work, and all he's asking is to come home to a clean house, dinner is cooked, kids are in bed, he's getting sex whenever he wants it. And basically, kind of like what Kevin Samuels is saying, like you should not tell your man no, because if y'all are separated, like, and you got kids, how you gonna take care of the kids and yourself? Which is why they're banning in Florida. They're banning alimony, and
which I was happy about.
Yes.
Which I was happy about. But the thing that I think that to get back on track, the thing that really upsets me, Nowadays came out with that song. We always hold whites, we always hold them accountable. But nobody in the black community, I'll tell you a person, man, that really gets under my skin. Dr. Umar Johnson. Dr. Umar Johnson, man, when he never holds these women accountable. Women like a Sexy Red. He won't hold her accountable and be like, you know what you're putting out here, man, is just disrespectful and it's not what, our young girls need to be seeing, right? Like, they actually had Sexy Red at a high school to put it in perspective. Somebody like that going into a high school to talk to high schoolers and nobody in the community said anything. Nobody in the community is upset. You don't hear anybody in the black media speaking out against her or Cardi B. Now, Cardi B was able to represent us in talking to Joe Biden, trying to go ahead and vote. But then she had a song, WAP, come out, and nobody said, you know what? Our young females is looking at you, and and you're their inspiration, and nobody held her accountable.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like people like Beyonce, Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, they're preaching all this the I'll cook, I'll clean, but I'll tell you how I got this ring, or that they don't need a man. But at the end of the day, they're going back to their mansions where their husbands and they have their kids.
Well, the one, let me tell you, because Beyonce got cheated on,
but she stayed.
And she stayed.
And the reason why is because what she leave to go to another man that's gonna do the same thing over again. And
Right.
Like Jay-Z, older men, they're at their peak, like in finances and basically financial.
And she wasn't going to replace Jay-Z. That's really what it come down to.
Yeah.
She wasn't going to. I love to watch females talk about how ugly Jay-Z is. But the one thing about it is she's smart. I got to give Beyonce her credit. Beyonce is smart. Beyonce stayed. Beyonce understood that, you know what, man. And I think most, what people don't get this is that if you want a marriage to work it out. Don't quit. It's simple as that. People ask, well, how did you guys make it work so long? Don't quit. Right. And I got to give her credit because she didn't quit. And she was smart enough to understand that, hey, yes, there are men out here that may be more handsome than Jay-Z, but they don't have the assets that Jay-Z had. And I got a child with Jay-Z. And so if I leave, yes, I'm going to leave for my happiness, but what about my kids' happiness? So I got to give it to Beyonce for putting her kid first. And Cardi B, in a way, as much junk and trash as Cardi B talk, she gets it too. Because, man, she's still with Offset. So while all them other birds is out there chirping and saying, you know what, you a fool, you should have left him and this and this and that. At the end of the day, man, I got to give them credit because they stay. But with somebody, with a real leader in the community, please stand up. Can we have we haven't had a leader since Malcolm X. That's how long it's been since we've had. I mean, we got micro leaders, but I'm talking about somebody as far as like the black community as a whole being the look up to and watch with pride. We haven't had that kind of leader since Malcolm. And I refuse to put MLK in there. And the reason being because, man, I think MLK got duped. He got tricked, and so we could go into that later on. But I'm going to go ahead and end this, where I just want to say this. Rather than hold other people accountable in other communities, we need to do so in our own communities first. What we're doing is the equivalent of, it's like me having children and I'm holding everybody else's children accountable for what they do. And then when mines do something, which a lot of times in our community happens, I turn a blind eye. And I don't say anything. I don't nip it in the bud. I don't address it. I don't come and tell them, hey, when you go out here, you're not only representing you, but you're representing me. Because, man, when you look bad, I look bad. Because when somebody look at you, they're going to say, well, who raised you? Who are your parents? So automatically, whatever's bad that's attached to you is attached to me also. So I think in our community, we need to consider that a lot more. And we need to start speaking out against people that put stuff like this out. Talking about, man, it's okay that I don't use condoms. I don't like using condoms. I'm the queen, especially single parent households that we have and abortions. The rate that we're aborting babies, man. I just, I just really got up under my skin today. But I want to leave with this. With this podcast, anybody that wants to promote a business, an event, or even an album, man, I want to create affordable 30-day advertising for y'all. So anytime I come on here, I want people to be able to see your advertisement. Everything that I say on these podcasts are my opinion. It is not the opinion of those who send in. If those who send an advertisement are bothered by it, you are free to not do business with me. I don't want to impede on your freedom of speech, and I hope that you don't want to impede on mine. Also, if you want to send a birthday shout out, you guys can see at the bottom of the screen, I do have a ticker. I would love for if you got a birthday shout out or anniversary shout out, especially anniversaries, because shouts out to anybody that has a 1, 2, 20, 30, or 50-year marriage anniversary. I want to promote that. So please go ahead and send the shout out in the Cash App $5, okay? Cash App it to $SODRIBEN LLC, along with the message of who you want to shout out, birthday or anniversary. If you even want to put your website, we can do that also. If you got a website you would like to promote at the bottom of our ticker, make sure you send that to a Cash App along with what it is that you want to promote, so we could go ahead, man, and I want to help as many people as possible. Now, if you do it on the ticker, it's just a day. But if you want to advertise, if you see to the left of me, if you want to advertise, man, a business, it's just 10, 30 days. You can't beat that anywhere. And the sooner you send it in, I will have it up on the next podcast that I go ahead and video record. But I want to thank y'all for tuning in, man. I love y'all. I hope you have a great day. And remember, children did not ask to be here. So their happiness should always come before ours. So please consider that when you get into any relationship or you have a relationship with somebody, that if you potentially are going to have a kid with that person, their happiness come first, and always go after people who are horrible role models to our kids. All right. Peace, love. I'm out. Y'all have a great rest of y'all day. I'm out.